Hello again, Zach Wilson here, Hood County Chess Club, and welcome back to our series on tactics. Today we're going to look at three really good tactics. One is the discovered attack, the other one is the X-ray attack, and then I'll save the best for last, the windmill attack. So let's go ahead and get started talking about discovered attacks. A discovered attack is simply where one of your pieces is hiding behind another one of your pieces, ready to surprise your opponent. Let's take a look at the first diagram. So when we take a look here, what we're looking for is a situation where we have one of our own pieces sort of blocked, if you will, by another one of our pieces. And if this pawn were to move, it would give us the opportunity to reveal an attack from this bishop down the long diagonal. As you can see, Black's king is on that diagonal. So in order for this bishop to attack this king, what we need is for this pawn to move. Now, what makes a discovered attack more effective is when it creates a double attack. And what that means is, after this pawn moves, you'll notice that it would be attacking Black's queen. So it creates an attack on two pieces. Black can only defend one and must lose the other. So what that looks like is you just move the pawn. We can see that creates a check that must be resolved, but it also creates an attack on the queen. And no matter what Black does here, whether it blocks with a pawn or maybe he runs and hides, doesn't matter because we're going to get the queen. And so that's the power of a discovered attack. Let's look at the next example. So a discovered attack is just simply looking for an opportunity to move one of our pieces out of the way and revealing an assault. So if we look here, we notice that the rook wants to capture the undefended bishop. But the king is in the way, so where should the king move to? We can see that the king has a lot of available squares, and hopefully you can very quickly see that the king really wants to attack the undefended knight. So after the king moves, we have a double attack. Now, it would be easy if, say, Black could move a piece, saving itself and then defending the other. Unfortunately for Black, we have this square covered. So the bishop can't move to save itself and the knight at the same time. And likewise, the knight cannot move over here to block the access of the rook to the bishop and saving itself, simply because we have this square covered as well with a pawn. So it doesn't matter what they try to do here, they're going to lose one of the pieces. I suppose the best option would be for Black to simply capture a pawn and at least get something, causing a check, forcing us to respond, and getting something for the knight. That leaves the opportunity to save the bishop. So that's the idea of a discovered attack. Now, the most famous discovered attack is probably in the game with Richard Reddy versus Tartakower in 1911. We did a series of attacking the king with checkmate patterns. This one was Reddy's mate. Very famous because it creates the use of a discovered attack, creating a double check. So let's check this out. Here, White simply sacrifices the queen to lure the king onto a dangerous square. And hopefully you can already see the attack from the rook that can be discovered by moving this bishop. Now, most beginning players, their first thought is going to be to either move the bishop here or here, attacking Black's queen. The idea being that if I move and attack the queen, what's the queen to do? Because you have to block this check and handle the check. And so this queen is going to fall. Even if she tried to block the check, we're still going to get her. And it's not going to be pretty. And we're going to win a lot of material. Okay, so that's not a terrible idea. Let's go ahead and lure that king back over here. But really, the best idea is what Richard Reddy did. And if you watched that video, you know that the move is here, causing a double attack on the king, which is a double check. And so in a double check situation, the king has to move because Black cannot make one move that would capture both offending pieces or block both attacks. So the only option is to move. And in the game, Black moved into c7 and the bishop caused checkmate. But his only alternative was to return over to e8 and then the bishop supports the rook with checkmate. So this was an incredible use of the discovered attack for a double check. Well, let's take a look at another idea called an X-ray attack. Now, the discovered attack, and we can kind of look at this game with the idea that these rooks are stacked. So this rook back here could have a discovery if this rook moved out of the way. But an X-ray is when we're looking through an opponent's piece. So black seems to think that the battle is on d5. And black is supporting with a rook and a queen, so that's 2 defenders, while white is attacking with 2 rooks, 2 attackers. And anytime it's even, it's just going to balance out. We can take a look at that, where if I take a rook, they take back, and if white takes a rook, and they take back, all we did was trade rooks, and there's not a lot going on here. Granted, in this situation, yes, most of you will say, but there's a back rank checkmate. And yes, that is true, except that if white tries to take advantage of it, loses his queen. All right, so let's back that up. Let's notice that back rank checkmate for a moment. See, the X-ray is that white isn't actually fighting on d5. White is fighting against d8. We can see that both of these rooks have an X-ray attack that go through the rook on d5 and actually look at d8. And combined with that, we have a queen attacking d8. That's 3 pieces attacking the d8 square through the use of an X-ray attack. And black only has 2 defenders. So anytime you have more attackers than there are defenders, this is a clue that you should attack. How do we do this? We start by attacking with the queen. So now it doesn't matter which way black captures. If black captures with the queen, removing the check, well, now the fight resumes on d5, and we have 2 attackers versus only 1 defender. So now we can take that rook free and easy. And of course, if he captures back, well, then we end up with the only piece. In that situation, if they tried to give lift for their king, well, then we're going to get that queen and have 2 rooks, so that's even worse. And if he simply tries to sidestep, excuse me, let's get that pawn back where it belongs. If he simply tries to sidestep, well, that check is still coming. And then we're still going to get that checkmate. So if we back that up, and again we attack d8, well, what if the rook comes back to satisfy it? That's still no good because we still have 2 attackers. Black only has 1 defender. This rook is going to fall, and with the checks, it's going to lead to checkmate. So that's the idea of an X-ray attack. We can reset that, and we can see that these rooks are using their X-ray vision to look through the rook on d5 and actually attack d8. So we'll look at the second X-ray attack. While most X-rays happen commonly with a rook or a queen, there is another long-range attacker, and that is the bishop. So immediately we think, or black thinks, that the battle is here, again, I guess on d5, very popular square today. And if we simply capture and capture, well, that removed the defender of this pawn, but there's also no defender of the c-pawn, and so that's just an even trade. All we've done is we've taken both of these bishops off the table and both of these pawns off the table. That is an even trade. So black feels safe. However, there is an X-ray attack. This bishop is using its X-ray vision to look through the bishop on d5 to the undefended pawn on b7. And the knight is also attacking. So it's really great to use an X-ray when you have another piece that's attacking what's on the other side. Just like in the previous example, the queen was helping out. So here the correct move is knight takes the undefended pawn. So now what's black to do here? Captures, and now the bishop captures back. So if we go back and count that, what we've noticed is that this bishop and this knight will both leave the table, which is even, but white is going to gain a pawn. And now this passed pawn is ready to come and promote. So we have a serious advantage here. So that's the difference between a discovered attack and an X-ray attack. A discovered attack, you're looking through your own piece. An X-ray attack, you're looking through an opponent's piece. Well, I did say I saved the best for last. We're going to look at what's called a windmill attack. And this is the most fun and exciting example of using a discovered attack motif. So here's the idea. Black's king is pretty well undefended. And we can see that this square is being attacked by both the bishop and the rook. So we can cause a check here. But it's not an ordinary check because Black's king only has one place that it can go, and that's into the corner. Once the king moves, notice the discovered attack. Because of the discovered attack and the fact that it comes with check, it's a discovered check, which is the most powerful of all discovered attacks. What that means is that White's rook can move anywhere that it wants to. It can move anywhere along the 7th rank and anywhere along the B file, and Black is going to have to resolve the check first. So all we do is we move the rook, capturing a pawn, check. And you'll notice that Black's king only has one square that it can move to, A7. So moves to safety, and we come back and check the king again. And you'll notice the king only has one square that it can move to, back into the discovered check opportunity. So we're going to move the rook again. Check. Got to move out of check. We'll check you again. Uh-oh, now you're in line for another discovered check. Has to move again. Check. Back in line for another discovered check. And we pick up the rook. So let's reverse that back to the very beginning. In comes that first check. And notice how many pieces White's going to pick up here. A pawn, a knight, a bishop, a rook. Through the use of the windmill attack, the discovered check over and over and over again, White is just cleaning up the board, taking off Black's pieces as if he was Pac-Man, eating everything up and gaining a decisive material advantage to go on and win the game. Well, I hope you enjoyed learning about discovered attacks, X-ray attacks, and of course the windmill attack. And remember, you are what you repeat. I encourage you to watch this video again, practice these positions over the board with a friend until they start to pop up in your next game.